So today in AI, what I wanted to talk to you about was something that came out regarding models. So I
Hmm.
don't personally know anything about modeling. I mean, I suppose in general, I could say that some people are prettier than others, but it would be really awkward for me to even try to describe why I think someone is better looking than another person or whatnot. But what's happening in AI is some companies are already starting to no longer hire models because they just have
Ooh.
the AI generate the model and they can have that AI wear whatever clothes that they want or whatnot. And I read about this and I saw this and I remember striking this to me as odd. And as a Christian, I remember thinking to myself, should I care about this?
Hmm.
Should this matter? What do you think?
There's a lot of different angles you could go from that. So, like the first angle, the thing I automatically thought of is when they tell AI to generate these models, they definitely have to tell the AI generator whether it needs to produce a female or male model. I guarantee you, they're not typing in, please like populate a binary pansexual model. Like nothing would come up. So I feel like, I mean, that in itself is kind of interesting, because they're definitely playing with gender there, and
Mhm.
they're aware that there's only two in that case. Then I do feel like, however, modeling has always been one of those things that's kind of unhealthy for women. However, for a lot of women, it is their careers and their money and their paycheck, even if it causes them to live an unhealthy lifestyle. And sometimes it just gets called out more than the other jobs that are still unhealthy, like super corporate jobs where people are stressed out, they don't sleep, they don't see their kids, they don't eat. So it's not much different from that. Um, so yeah, I don't know if I have like a super strong like stance on that. I think it's more healthy for models if AI just generates them because it looks exactly the way they want it to. There's no pressure on those girls anymore. They don't have to diet super hard and starve themselves and hate their life. At the same time, they're gonna have to find another job, so that sucks for them. On the
Yeah,
flip side, no, go
I
for
I
it.
was interesting that you think of it. So I thought, of it mostly as a positive in the sense that I have kind of a negative view of the modeling industry in general. Um, I don't know if I should. I don't have a lot of good reasons. I don't have any experience or anything. I just normally think like sort of a person has to look a certain way. Uh, isn't great all the time, like saying you have to, be, whatever the current beauty standards are. I probably don't even know what they are, whether it's, you know, tall and thin or whatever they currently are, and then therefore these women or whoever, it's mostly women. There aren't that many male models, certainly not any that are a note of. I think they're kind of a dime a dozen. So these women that have to do it, have to sort of shape their bodies in a certain way. And over time, if preferences change, maybe they have to shape their body in a separate way, and maybe they have to have surgeries to keep it going and whatnot. So anyway, I sort of always had a negative view of the whole thing. And so I remember thinking when I first heard this, yeah, this seems like a positive. Now, hopefully they can find something else to do, or people just won't go into it in the first place. It'll be probably be tougher for the people that get fired than the people that just never, go into it in the first place and never enter it. But then I started thinking like, should just Christians not even really be very excited about this idea of having sort of elite, good looking people
Right.
that we have to have in order to sell stuff? I mean, maybe I should just not like
Yeah.
that at all, you know? Like,
Like, should Christians be models? Question. Like, yeah.
yeah, like, like if the modeling industry just ended, should we as Christians be like, good riddance, like,
I think we probably would be better off as a society if it just ended. I think the scary thing with AI though is like, so with women already this has been a problem because they'll take this beautiful girl and then they'll airbrush and they'll take out the parts that they don't like, and you're left with this image of somebody who is a real person but they're kind of fake because all these things have been added or subtracted from them. Whereas like with AI, we don't even know if that's a real person anymore. So that I think that becomes problematic for young girls and just insecure women in general if they're trying to attain this beauty that is 100% fake. That could be really damaging.
Yeah, so this idea of like we create a standard, whether by just, before we had airbrushing, just we found the prettiest person we could or whatever. And then later on, we, more and more editing, all the way to the point that all we have left is editing. I mean, should be just saying like this, it just seems like a bad idea that we as Christians should be looking at people and be like, well, I gotta look like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, and it's dangerous too sometimes. So like whenever Edgar Allan Poe was alive, tuberculosis was like a really terrible thing. However, being kind of gaunt and yellow was like the beauty standard. So these people who got tuberculosis and were dying were literally seen as like pretty. And that's like what people were chasing after. So sometimes we don't even know that what we want is bad for us.
right. Like it does seem like, we know certain things are healthy and unhealthy, and if you're too overweight, it's unhealthy. So it seems like, treating our body as a temple and trying to, maintain a certain level of health is worth pursuing. So I've heard more than one sermon on, hey, don't, to what level you want to do it, I guess that's debatable. But there isn't too much debate on we should be doing something to just not let ourselves be as unhealthy as possible, right? We shouldn't be gluttonous or whatever, right? That's not a debate. But then saying, so where does the line end to where we want to succumb to some beauty standards where our shoulders have to be wide and our waist has to be thin, or vice versa? I'm not sure which one what might be in vogue at the time, to the point where we wish we could have surgery to change it, or we
Right.
wrap corsets around ourselves to try to shrink our ribs or whatever. There's some pretty extreme things that probably most people don't do, but just seems like an interesting thing to think about for Christianity.
I think it would just be important to like not get caught up in like the things of this world, because like, okay, the Kardashians and the Jenners, and I get them all mixed up, so I don't know which one is which, but I know like one of them, big lips were a thing for a while, and so they like got the little shots to make your lips, the lip filler, but now
Mhm.
they've taken it out because lip fillers are not in anymore. And so
Right.
it's just this constant cycle of like, do this because it's in style and then undo it. And that's super unhealthy too. Like that surgeries are like a risk anyways. So doing them just for fun and like kicks and giggles, like why?
So then we have the issue of like, so every year we have Easter, so we just had Easter, and then oftentimes people, buy an Easter dress or
Yes.
whatever, and this is like a big deal, and they go to church and they're complimented on their nice clothing, and they look
Right.
nice, and oh, you look great, and it's like, so where's the line between saying someone looks great because they dressed up, in their pastels or whatever they were supposed to wear for Easter that year, and saying like, oh, look, you had, all this stuff done or photoshopped or whatever, and you look a certain way for a magazine shoot. Like what, it doesn't seem like there's a crazy huge difference. I mean, I know it's not maybe in degree, but like in principle, they feel sort of similar.
Right. I think it comes from people's values. Like I think it's very individualized to each person. It comes from motives and it comes from worth. So like the people walking in on church, hopefully they know that their worth is like not from what they wear. Hopefully they are like super stable and like how they identify as like a children of God, and they know obviously that like their inside health and beauty is what matters more. However, I mean, God did make it to where like women want to be pretty. Like that's just something that's inside of them, right? And like feeling secure is something that all women at one point in their life try to achieve. So that a little bit of that is natural and it's kind of a result of the fall, and like we just are here and we have to deal with it. However, that's why it's really crappy for the like mainstream media and our economy to profit on that and capitalize on it, because they know that it's an insecurity that every woman deals with. So they're going to make standards that are impossible to attain. As for the models themselves, they're just making a paycheck. Like they're just doing what they have to do. I don't think they can really be penalized from that. Like it just kind of comes to like what their motives are. Are their motives to try to be the most pretty person in the universe, or are their motives just to make a paycheck? Are their motives selfish, unselfish? That's just kind of them. But as far as like where the line is, I think it has to come, it like the line comes with, are you doing this to feed your own pride? Are you doing this for vanity? Or are you doing this because it's something you actually just enjoy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because in some ways I just want to say we should just not care at all. Like, just don't care what people wear. And you want to buy a new dress on Easter or not, I don't care. I don't care what you wear. Just completely not care at all. Um, it seems like, in theory that sounds like a great idea, but I'm not really sure it works all the time. We're supposed to, in society, we're not supposed to like, be uh we're supposed to connect with society, right? Paul talked about, becoming all things to all men and whatnot. So it seems like just completely abandoning societal standards on the way one should look may not be a great idea, but it is tough, And as a guy, it's easier, right? We can kind of abandon easier and probably aren't going to catch a lot of flack for it, right? Like I can cut my hair all the way short and it's the easiest possible thing to possibly do with my hair. Yet it also happens to be societally acceptable, which it wouldn't be for you probably
Right.
to do the same thing. And so it's difficult. I mean, it doesn't seem I just want to be like, in my soul, I just want to be like, great, who cares? No models, get rid of that whole thing. That whole industry is, stupid or not, the people aren't stupid, but just like the idea of creating this, uh, you know, symbol of beauty that we all think is great and all attain to. We should all just not care about that and tear it all down. But I'm not sure we should quite say, well, then no matter what we wear, doesn't matter ever in any situation. Like doesn't seem quite right, and it's very difficult to know the line in this AI stuff and saying we can make it anything we want. Kind of has made me rethink it. Like we can literally make it anything we want.
Yeah.
Maybe my idea of having it be nothing's probably not right, but what should we make it if we could make it anything we want? Like if we had a church clothing line, what would we
We
do?
should start one.
Yeah. You're gonna have
Well,
to
I
run
think,
that.
yeah, I would. It would be fun. Be dressing the congregation up. Anyways, I think that the not caring is good in theory. Like, I think that there's definitely religious denominations that have tried to do it. However, I think that because it's kind of such a divine concept and we're so human and so natural where like we can't really get rid of our human part, it doesn't work because like, okay, look at the Amish people. Like, and there's different schools and sectors of them, but for the most part, the traditional Amish people, like they've tried to take out all the worldly stuff and mute it and use blacks, grays, whites, tone everything down, hair one way, hats one way, make everybody the same, kind of like a uniform. But like by doing that, micro obsess about what they're wearing. And it becomes like,
Yeah, well,
yeah, sorry.
yeah, I would just argue it's not that they don't care. They care a lot. They care a ton about what you wear. And now their goal is to have it be simple. But I'm guessing if one of the kids came out with purple hair one day, that would be, absolutely terrible. So that's
Right.
not caring, right? They care. They care a ton.
But
And
it came like it was birthed by this idea of we're leaving the world and we're going to be modest and we're not going to care about worldly things. And so we're going to be as basic and simple as we can.
yes, but then I think that they say, and all of you need to all be as basic and simple as you can as well, right? Like they
Yeah. So
didn't, so they care. So
yeah.
so it's not like I mean I can make the choice. I'm going to be as basic simple as I can. I'm going to do wear nothing, but free T-shirts I've got because I'm thrown away 40 free T-shirts I've gotten probably. So I'm going to know nothing but wear free T-shirts and the cheapest jeans every single day, and I can do it. But then if you come in all fancied up or some way, my theory would be I should just not care. I don't care if you spent tons of time and
Right.
effort on yours, and I didn't. I mean, it seems like there should be a certain amount of not caring I should be able to do.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how much.
I don't know if humans will ever reach that point.
Yeah.
I don't know if they will.
Well, it's an interesting concept, as certainly fun to think about. We as Christians have always seemed to fall into a dress code. It's very hard not to do. Most Christianity, when they say they don't have a dress code, end up with one anyway, and I find it extremely a challenging thing. And then having AI be able to create the dress code, I'm not even sure. Maybe it doesn't change anything. Just a different way to enforce the dress code. It just, instead of having to get a real person to do it, you have a model do it, or a fake model do it instead of a real one. But anyway, moving on. I had another question for you, unless you have a summary of what we talked about there.
No, go for it.
So another thing that happened is someone took a photo from Dolly 2. You and I've used Dolly 2. It's similar to another program that I've used to create images.
I
Midjourney is
saw
another
this.
one that I've used. Yeah, and so they had a photo be made on Dolly 2, and they
Yep.
put it into a contest for photography.
Yep.
And when they put it in this contest for photography, they won.
Yep.
Because
And we were talking about this
yes,
before it
the
happened. We predicted this. We said artists are screwed.
because the people judging didn't know. Now, the person who did it was honest and said, "No, I'm not accepting this award. I didn't take a photo. I cheated." He was just like
Lame.
making the point that what's the industry going to do? Like, how are they going to handle it? I mean, can a photography competition really have the sort of IT chops to stop this from happening? I'm not sure.
I think it'll almost go to like those Food Network shows, Chopped, where like everybody's together and then they're like on your market set, go, and then they just have like 45 minutes to create. I think it'll be a whole nother level for artists. Like they'll all have to sit where somebody can see them, and then they're gonna have a time limit of like creating, and then that might be the future. But
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
not.
so apparently chess is very popular right now, or more popular than it has been, and it's not because computers aren't better. Computers are way better. As a matter of fact, the way you study for chess now is you study computer models. That's how you get good.
Right.
But it's had a renaissance. Magnuson is number one, and I guess he's a fairly popular person. I don't know what all the other reasons are, but chess is popular. So I think human art could remain popular, but cheating is going to be rampant. Surely, like, cheating is going to be super hard to stop. I get. Maybe that's the only difference. Maybe we'll still have photography. We'll still have art all the way. Human made art the same way we did before. It's just the cheating will be hard to stop. I don't know.
I think photography might not be as bad off as some other ones, because people are always going to want pictures of themselves. So like portrait photographers, I think that they shouldn't be worried yet. But as far as for like graphic designers, drawers, painters, they should be worried.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the my take on it is the people that are currently doing it manually theoretically already were replaced by digital graphic designers and copy machines or printers anyway, and we
Mm.
continue to enjoy those even though they're inferior, right? Like a hand painted painting is surely worse than a graphic designer making that exact same thing perfectly, right? But we whatever for
Right.
whatever reason appreciate the hand art just in the same way we still have horses, even though obviously cars are way better. We lots of horses in the world. So
Right.
I'm not sure the people that make it by hand are in trouble, because they were sort of already obsolete. They already had been passed by, and we just enjoy them because we just decide we enjoy them. So maybe it's the digital art creators that are toast, Arama. The person whose job it is to create graphics for a website. They got to be in trouble. I mean, thumbnail making for YouTube's a simple one, but that used to be like a huge headache, right? Like, getting to the point where you could take an image picture of yourself, like, so in some of our thumbnails we might have a picture of one of us and there's no background behind us. That used to be like a thing to make that happen, and now it's trivially easy. So it does seem like either the quality is going to go up or people get fired or something. But I don't know. It was an interesting development this last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't know either, but hopefully it makes us better at what we do. You know, like I'm hoping that it will make um smaller people who like don't have all the money and the resources to like get a coder, get a graphic designer, get somebody to do this. I'm hoping that it will allow those people to really start some like amazing things.
And I also think that some really positive thing about it is churches are always struggling with that kind of stuff, right? I have
Right.
been in youth groups and different things, and it was like, oh, we have a youth group. We should have some sort of consistent branding and some kind of logo, or we want to make a shirt. Whatever. And it was always this gigantic headache to do any kind
Yeah.
of graphic design work. And then you saw the big church downtown, and they have a graphic artist on staff, and their youth group's stuff was like amazing or whatever. Or maybe
Right.
it wasn't even a competing church or another church in town. It was more like the soccer team that they're on or just some other group that they're involved with. Their stuff was super quality, and the stuff that you could put out as a church was just garbage all the time. You could tell you're always putting out inferior work, inferior quality, because you couldn't have a graphic designer. Your website always looked like it was 20 years out of date because you didn't have someone who was a graphic designer to be able to do it. So maybe some of the churches and whatnot who don't have enough resources to have a IT department or graphic design department or whatever might actually be able to create stuff that I'm not saying that the stuff is going to look amazing or better than everybody else, but just like not have it be this is
Right.
kind of that a yuck factor.
And it'd be really cool if it could just like build a whole website in like 30 minutes. 15, even like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes if we get really good. It would be amazing. Like that would help so many people.
It would. I mean, the website builders have gotten so much better. I mean, you're working on ours now, tinkering with it, and you have no background really, or not a substantial background website building, but you're able to build it. I mean, 20 years ago, you wouldn't, you or I wouldn't have had a
I
chance,
would
right?
have
Like
been
the amount of
typing in code. Yeah.
HTML. So they've already gotten better. So hopefully, this just means that it gives us better tools to be able to reach people. And used to be too, like we see it in the movie industry. There's been some Christian church groups that have made some movies, or The Chosen, some people have really liked. And being able to make something of that quality at some point was just sort of out of reach. That couldn't be done unless you had, there are only a few studios in the
Millions.
whole world, that could even pull that kind of thing off. And now it can be done. So, I say maybe there are some positives here. The fact that you can make a competition winning worthy photography from Dolly 2 means that type of access is in the hands of churches, and so maybe
Yeah.
we'll be able to do great things with it. Well, thanks for answering my questions today. We'll take a look next week and see what's going on in AI and see what Christians should be thinking about. Thanks for joining me again.